Hey folks, and welcome to Teracast. It's been a while since the last one. Today we're going to be talking about, well, we're going to recap the betas. Of course, we had the beta events for the last couple of weeks. The last one being beta 4. The next one coming up will be beta 5. We'll talk a little bit about the PvP, the new servers that we've got, the PvP servers and their rule sets. What else will we talk about, Keel?
Well, like you said, beta has been going on since the last podcast we recorded shortly after beta 1. We just wrapped up beta 4 this past Sunday. It's the morning of the 30th that we're recording right now. So this should come out, in theory, as long as everything's going okay, right before beta 5. We're going to talk a little bit about the Korean cash shop that was just introduced, and we're also going to just kind of shoot for a semi-shorter podcast.
Indeed. One other thing we're going to talk about is the announcement about the Battlegrounds. I don't know if you guys have been following it, but the Battlegrounds are going to be delayed for a little while, which I don't know if you all remember, but back when the Korean Terra launched, they did something similar with the political system. They didn't have it implemented right away. They kind of wanted to let everybody be on an equal footing, sort of max level or getting close to it, and then they launched the political system at that point, and the Battlegrounds as well. They didn't have Battlegrounds to begin with either. So could be something like that. Either way, people aren't happy about it necessarily, because it is, especially for the people who are not on a PvP server, the only real organized PvP that you can get. So that's kind of disappointing.
And also, some of you may have noticed last Teracast we uploaded to YouTube. We'll probably be doing that again. Podbean's been giving us some issues, so definitely bandwidth issues. So definitely subscribe to that, like it if you guys want, and we're going to try to do a little bit better description for the video, throw links in it, have some gameplay video. You guys can see my awful tanking skills if you want. And
Wasn't that bad.
We will just jump into it then.
Indeed.
So,
I guess we'll start with the beta recap. So the last one we looked at, really, we didn't really talk about beta 2 much, but there wasn't a lot of new stuff in beta 2. Beta 3. What happened in Beta 3?
Right.
That's when the PvP was launched, right?
Yes.
Indeed.
Well, technically 2 started up the PvP, which introduced 2 more servers, which was Valley of the Titans and Jagged Coast, if memory serves correctly. No, Valley of the Titans. It's where Terra, the Reddit guild, is. And so the Guild versus Guild for Closed Beta 2 were open. Guild battles were 30,000 to wage the war and 3,000 gold to forfeit. Also, we had the addition of /bug in order to report bugs, which would ask you what type of bug it was, and then open up a browser window for you to submit any
issues. Did you have any luck with that? Did you use it at all? I used it for 2 bugs that I found, and it worked pretty flawlessly. I liked it.
Yeah, I used it for a bug where the party I was in, we got locked out of an instance after resetting the instance. It was a weird bug where half the party got into the instance, and I reset the instance before the 5th member of the party came in.
Okay.
So we were already in, the 5th member came in, and then it kicked everybody, or no, she was in another instance somehow, and it was just really weird, and we all got out of the instance, and we reset it outside, and then we had a like 40-minute lockout. So I submitted a
Oh,
bug for that, and a weird bug where if you would sell something in your inventory and then hit sort, somehow you would end up with a duplicate item in your inventory.
hmm,
I had that bug, which,
interesting.
yeah.
Sounds pretty exploity.
Well, I mean, it wasn't physically there
Ah,
after you would
just
hit
an image.
sell.
Gotcha.
It would disappear. It wasn't game breaking for
Cool.
anything.
Right on. Cool. Yeah, I submitted 2 bugs too. They were just really minor things. One of them was a boss fight that the tells were off. They were just reversed. It was actually Kaguro, I think, the giant Popori teddy bear dude in the Sinestral Manor. This was in test 2, I believe. Basically, his tells were just reversed. He has one where he says something like, "You can't touch me," and he puts a bubble on himself, and that's his tell. He yells that out. Except when he was yelling that out, he was actually doing his major AoE, which is usually preceded by an orange circle, but in the test, the orange circle was happening before he got the bubble. So that was a bit confusing. Hopefully they'll look into that. I think they did, because we ran it again and it was fine, so I think they fixed that. And another bug was just something about terrain. I went through some terrain and fell through the planet, which that's because of my habit of exploring places I shouldn't be. So,
Yeah, exactly. And then the other thing that we got in the closed beta 2 was the reduced, or not reduced rather, but the level 11 mount quest was moved to Velkia instead of outside of the town and going to the horse stables. There was literally, you would just turn in all your quest after the Island of Dawn, talk to Dougal, and he would send you to a horse merchant, and you would just receive the book instead of
yep.
collecting the carrots like we have done.
Yep, no
the
more
past.
collecting, no more running down the hill and go to the farm, which I find a little bit sad. I mean,
I do too.
there's like nothing in the whole province of Velica that you can do anymore. It's just scenery, essentially.
Yeah. And I liked it too because when I was doing it, like, people were doing all kinds of weird stuff, like, stay away from my carrots, trying to shoot arrows everywhere. I was blocking my carrot so nobody else would come over,
Yep.
pulling my shield up. That was fun.
But on the plus side, it is very
Yeah.
time-saving, so you can get your horse really quickly now, which is always good.
So they added more PvP rules in Closed Beta 3. Basically, you would earn infamy points for killing lower level players, 60 points for 6 to 10 levels lower than you, 120 points for players 11 or more than you. If you have an infamy point, you'll be labeled an outlaw. We won't penalize you for being an outlaw according to their infamy points, but the community may retaliate as they see fit, which
This leads into the political system and sort of the server
Exactly.
running itself, which is good in a sense.
the infamy points would only diminish at a rate of 1 every 5 minutes. So for killing somebody 11 levels lower than you, you'd be labeled an outlaw for 24 in-game hours, which that's
Do they? I wonder if
Alright.
they diminish while you're logged out or not.
I
Do we-
don't know.
We should find out.
But from what I understood, you had to be in-game for that to dissolve. Or
That's
else
cool.
people would gank lobies, log
Log
out
out.
for a week on
Exactly.
that character. But from what I understood, that there was no real penalty. So, like, you couldn't be PK'd in towns or anything like that, which I think, being an outlaw, there needs to be some form of you being marked in town, so it's
Yeah,
going
see,
to be a pain in
oddly-
the ass.
Oddly, some of the guards at some of the outposts and towns will attack mobs when they wander within range. Like, you'll get these little archer guards, and they'll shoot at piglings when they wander too close, or whatever. There should be a way to just change a little bit of coding to make them also target players who are past a certain level of infamy, just like they're a regular mob. That would, of course, require going to Korea to make changes to the program, but it would be a really interesting use of infamy points. It would restrict and have a real consequence.
Because, I mean, if you're going to have open world PvP, and we have no factions, so anybody can gank anybody. And I was talking to some people about Terra. You know, the biggest issue is Terra's really focused on group gameplay. So if you and a buddy wanted to be just a jerk to somebody, like a group of people trying to do a basilisk or any other BAM, all you have to do is take out the healer and the tank, and the rest of the party is pretty much boned, because you're not going to get aggro after they've whittled down that BAM to, 40%. You have to do half the work, and you still get to ruin somebody's day. So I think there needs to be a little bit more of a severe penalty. Maybe penalty is the wrong word, but there needs to be some form
Repercussion,
of,
I guess.
Exactly.
Yeah.
That's the word I was looking for.
Although I know from experience that a lot of the hardcore PvPers, they don't want it, and that's fine with them. They want to be able to just slaughter mercilessly and get slaughtered mercilessly, apparently.
Yeah, I don't understand that logic, but hell, I'm not a tried and true PvPer, so
I'm a self-professed Care Bear, so I don't even care. I prefer my PvE. I mean, I will PvP, and I will fight for my guild, but I'd rather just stick to doing instances and all the good stuff.
Yeah. Then they also, in that beta, they added controller commands to access the controller options, added some Nostromo controller functionality, some new default settings. If you guys want to look at it, NMAS has really documented all the patches really well, and you guys can check out the patch notes on their website if you want to continue reading. There's a lot of fixes in Closed Beta 3. And then that brings us to Closed Beta 4.
4, and the level cap for that one was 38.
Yes.
And some people decided to go all the way and hit level 38. A lot of people did. A lot of people in our guild chose to just kind of level some new characters and that sort of thing, just so as not to spoil the rest of the game for live. I don't know how far they'll actually take the last beta. Maybe they'll just open it wide open to 50.
I don't see it, just for the simple fact that they want to save something back for open beta, because they're saying open beta is just the head start of the game. So, well, head start, quote unquote.
Yeah.
Because it's going to be a live game in open beta, because you're saving your character and stuff. So any progression you make, whether that be level 14 or level 45 or 60, whatever, you'll be able to just go off. So typically we've been seeing about 5 to 6 levels per beta. So maybe 40, I want to say like 44 for closed beta 5. That's my prediction.
Gotcha.
That way you can get a skill set. Because like,
yeah,
41, you're going to miss your 42 skills. Same with 43. So
that's a good guess. I would say.
Yeah.
I'm not in a real rush to get my character to the cap in the tests. I'd rather just try some other classes I haven't really played with. I started the Mystic in this last test and really liked it, which sucks because I really like all the other classes too. I don't know what to play now, but that's always fun. And of course, if you haven't tried the PvP servers, it's always worth your while to give it a go, even though it might not be your thing. You might really like it. Who knows?
The other thing was they doubled the maximum amount of characters you can type into chat channels. So,
More
I
spam.
guess,
Yay.
yeah, more spam. Yay.
And useless chatter about other games, which you always see in every game, but...
Yeah. The other thing was we had a Terran Treasure Trove event.
Oh, I
which,
loved it.
Oh,
It's
it was
always
fun.
There were chests everywhere, so I used to walk around just like one area and just collect 6, 7, 8, 9 chests. And the loot wasn't bad either. The dye, fantastic. The way you could customize it yourself, make whatever color you'd like. Some really cool combinations.
You said the loot was fantastic. Everybody in Guild had fantastic loot luck. All I got was campfires and, like, scrolls. I did not get a single one of these epic dyes that everybody got that was,
no.
like...
I
you know.
had 11 of them by the time I was done collecting
Really?
one round of chests. I also got 2 different types of fireworks. One shoots up like a great big smiley face, and the other one was just like a traditional firework. Really cool looking.
Yeah, I thought it was a really fun event. I just had a horrid loot luck with those.
Then you can get ID scrolls, campfires, like you said, some ROMs.
As a Lancer, for some reason, I'm the one, I don't know, at least in my party, I'm always the one that throws down the campfire, so I welcomed it. And I also found, I don't know if it's a bug or not, I'm going to submit it later tonight now that I'm thinking about it. Fireplaces, you can't stack more than 10.
Right.
Which I think is kind of dumb. Like, if I had 20 in my inventory, that's 20 in my inventory. I shouldn't... I think 10's a stupid number for those to not stack above.
Agreed.
Personally.
Yeah. I don't think there should be huge restrictions on stacking items, especially the ones you're going to use a lot of.
Exactly.
It's silly, and there's limited space as is. So...
And in Closed Beta 4, we had a bit of a controversy. The level 1 through 15 was an experiment where players will have around 30% less HP and return to the baseline by level 20. I leveled 2 tunes to 14 during this beta. I died for my first time on the island of Dawn because of this, but it was the first time I didn't play a heavy class. I usually have been playing either ranged or Lancer or Berserker when I've played Terra. It was my first time trying out a warrior. I had a lot of fun with it, but I died on the bridge when I was playing with a friend. And
in the defensive Sorcha,
yeah.
That's her name, Sorcha.
Sorcha, the crazy little mob that looks like a Raggedy Ann doll. What was that one game for like Sega Saturn where you're like flying around through dreams and hoops and stuff? You know what I'm talking about? Or was that a dream? Oh my god. I will link to it in the YouTube comments so everybody doesn't think I'm crazy. But,
yeah. Okay, yeah, I actually leveled a character as well, my Mystic, and I didn't notice a change whatsoever. I think it depended on what class you're playing, especially if you're going to be taking hits. Mystic doesn't take a lot of hits, so that's probably why.
Yeah, and I personally would have rather had en masse increase the difficulty of the level 10/11/9 instance where it's your first instance, you get the mercenary, because originally that was a 5-man mini dungeon, and I would have rather have seen that increase in difficulty where you wouldn't be able to solo it. I think that would have been a better experience for first-time players, and because right now people just feel like the game's easy mode up until level, 20 before you start taking out Basilisk. That's where the game really started to shine for the North American release was level 20, doing the Basilisk, and then the Bastion of Loke secret base
Yeah.
instances.
I think the hardest part for Unmasked is to try to balance it out because they want to make it accessible to people who don't like to party, but at the same time, the partying is really what makes the game, like you said, shine. So, especially with the Island of Dawn, people want to just kind of rush through, finish it. They don't have to like struggle through finding a group and trying to get that done. And that makes sense, but at the same time, it used to be a lot more fun than it is now. It's very basic. You can solo it. It's not a challenge, and it doesn't feel epic. It used to feel
Exactly.
like a huge accomplishment. Yes, I beat that, and that was awesome. But now it's just sort of a
I mean,
precursor to getting off the island. So
I think they should put it back because, people are like, I'm not feeling epic. I feel the mobs are really slow. People have suggested increasing the mob attack speed on the Island of Dawn. I wouldn't agree with increasing the attack speed just because you're still learning how to play your character.
yeah, for sure.
But I think having that instance slightly harder. So maybe you don't need 5 people in there, but you need at least 3,
Or even two if you're really good. Like
Yeah, but 1 I believe is unacceptable because I've watched beta videos of the press beta for Guild Wars 2, and we've seen level 1 crazy hard bosses, allegedly. I don't know, I haven't played the game, but people want to compare Terra to Guild Wars 2 and the Old Republic, and the PvE story is not the same as, the Old Republic, and we don't have the same questing system as Guild Wars 2, where Terra sits kind of in the middle ground where it's all about the combat. So
exactly.
if we take away that combat early on, we're going to cause issues for us down the road.
Yeah, there's people I know who just haven't even finished the Island of Dawn and made a snap decision about the game based on how easy it was or various factors, and they have to really worry about their first impression with people when it goes live. So it is
It's a
it is
tricky
important.
situation.
It is because they don't want to alienate new people who haven't played a game like this before and who might find it really challenging. Because I actually witnessed some people dying on the Island of Dawn as a mystic, just kind of running through my regular quests to get off the Island of Dawn. I saw people laying on the ground, dead or sleeping, but that was not a common sight. And I mean, it's rare. You don't see it very often, but that means there are people out there who aren't used to it or who are not used to this type of game anyway, or the action style combat. So there are all kinds out there, all kinds of people, some who are vets and some who are not, and you really can't afford to alienate either. So you have to strike a balance, and it's not
Yeah.
really that balanced at the moment. I don't
Yeah.
find it's a little too easy.
And before we move on from patch notes for betas, I did not mention that the PvP for closed beta 4, taking your crosshair over a player, it would expose their level, similar to a mob. I guess that wasn't initially in the game, which would give people more options whether or not they wanted to engage in PvP.
Or run like hell.
Yes.
Next we'll, I guess, talk about the Battleground controversy.
Yes, this has sprung up in the last day and a half, pretty much, at the time of this recording.
Basically, what they're doing is, well, they released a post called Battlegrounds coming to Terra this summer. It's in the news and announcements under the town hall and forums. And, okay, so basically what they said is that they were aiming to have the Battlegrounds for launch, but they wanted to wait and have it a little bit more polished, to add a little more features to it and make it a better overall experience. So they say that they admit that waiting sucks, but they're aiming to introduce Battlegrounds late this summer. The late this summer part is a bit sketchy because, I mean, it's It's going to be launched in spring, so it's going to be a while. And they'll also showcase the political system at launch with popular voting as the initial election method for all provinces. And they're also making it so that guilds can declare wars on each other regardless of the server rule set, which is fantastic. I was really hoping to hear that. So even if you're on a PvE server, you can still do the guild war thing. But the fact that they don't have battlegrounds yet means that political system will be impacted, because part of the political system is your PvP rank or whatnot, whatever method they're using to garner those type of political points. So yeah, that's kind of depressing that they're waiting that long, but
I agree. I feel like I've read some comments and stuff, and some people were saying, well, then what's the point of having the political system at launch? The battlegrounds gave smaller guilds, guilds that don't have the 300 plus count, an opportunity to, get the political points and stay in office and all that stuff. And it just puts, I don't know, it's more or less just hurting how the political system has been set up to work, I guess is what I'm trying to say. And
right.
I would tend to agree. Right now, the popular vote's just going to, most likely, people are going to win based on the size of their guild. I hate to say that, but what's going to be, there's going to be no incentive to try to win a popular vote and then turn around and raise your taxes. The PvP gave the opportunity for somebody to win office and then be a jerk because they didn't win by popular vote.
Right, exactly. One thing that they don't mention, probably because nothing's written in stone, is that there may be a reason why they're waiting for late summer, as they say. Right now, there are 2 battlegrounds, and they may be waiting until late summer because they may be getting maybe a 3rd or a 4th or maybe a few new ones coming out of Korea that we don't know about yet or that haven't been announced. So that's also an option, a possibility.
That would be awesome.
It would be. I definitely think a few different types of battlegrounds would be fantastic. Different objectives, different game modes, and maybe different level requirements to get into them. Because right now, as far as we know in Korea, they start at 40 and 50? 40 and 50 or 40 and 60?
Yeah.
Or 40 and 58?
Yeah,
I
believe so.
Yeah,
but
so they're
there's
higher level.
only 2 tiers, which I would actually like for the North American release, that we have several tiers. So like a level 20, a level 30, 40, 50, 60
exactly.
tier.
Exactly. So you have something to look forward to while you're leveling. You can unlock new battlegrounds, and so that you can get into it earlier and start working your way up in the political system and whatever else.
And if that's the case, if battlegrounds are out, I want to see PvP gear out of the gate. I know that's like a really unpopular thing to say, but PvP gear, I think, would hurt the arena aspect, where if you want the gear, you're going to have to go out and, grind for it, or you're going to have somebody craft you some stuff. And I think I don't like PvP gear personally.
Yeah, I never was a fan of it either.
So that's my
they also
suggestion en masse, if you guys are listening.
They also mentioned in the same post that in the upcoming weeks there'll be a lot of updates and info about the Terra features that are going to be released. So we'll be looking at a lot more news and updates in the next little while after Test 5. And the other thing we wanted to talk about too was the cash shops that we see in a post by
Corey
on the European site. And there'll be a link in the description for the video, but basically, and there'll be some screenshots as well. Basically, it's some of the stuff we talked about. Remember when we talked about hats? Well, those hats, or glasses in this case, are part of the cash shop in Korean Terra. The prices have been calculated into euros, so for an example, the Pirate Eye Patch. For 30-day use, you can pay £2, which gives... Oh, sorry, €2, my bad.
Yes.
It gives 14 TCAT points.
From what I understood from the TCAT coins, you're going to gain these by continuing to resubscribe to the game, and you would also get these by purchasing these items. And,
I see, yes. So
and
you
then
only
you'll
buy
be
from the
able
cash
to
shop, the
use,
more TCAT points you get.
yes, and these
Gotcha.
points can be used to buy in-game stuff. I'm not 100% sure if it's exclusive items, or you'd be able to sell them for gold or something like that, which that's the thing that a lot of people are freaking out about. They think it's unfair advantage, but
Keep in mind, what Korea does not necessarily going to happen here, so there may not be a cash shop.
exactly.
They've never mentioned cash shop, and in fact, they've adamantly said there will not be a cash shop. So it really remains to be seen. Just because Korea is doing it doesn't necessarily mean we're going to have it. But we will talk about it just because it is sort of newsy and kind of fun. The eye patch that I was talking about, it gets destroyed. There's two different types you can get. You can get the 30-day eye patch, which is destroyed after 30 days. And there's a 365-day eye patch, which lasts for, well, a year. And the difference is about $1. So you pay €2 for the 30 days or 3 for the 365. And we were debating whether or not it was actual in-game time or if it's actual days. We really don't know the answer definitively, so it could be either.
I don't know. How it's translated sounds like it's every day it ticks away. But, given what we know about the armor die and stuff like that, that's in-game time. But with a large number like 30, that kind of sounds more like it's going to disappear in a month. We don't know how it's going to be. We don't know what NMAS is going to do with these items, and we don't know what Frogster is going to do about these items.
Indeed. There's also a horse, and I will post a picture in the video. It is pretty darn sweet. It's the Nightmare Horse.
And we actually saw this in a video that Total Biscuit put out about a month ago when he was at Frogster's offices. And you can't really tell in the still photo, but in the video, as the horse would gallop, the hoof prints would remain in the ground for a few seconds, and they'd be on fire and kind of like scorched ground. It was kind of a really cool effect.
Yeah, looks really good.
Yeah, it was pretty cool. The movement speed on the horse is the same as the Frost line we'll get with the collector's edition, which is a 280 run speed, which I'm trying to think here.
As of now, we can only assume that's maximum, because we haven't seen anything yet that's faster, but it's not ruled out, of course.
I believe, I want to say 240 is what the standard horse is that we get at level 11. I remember reading that when I was looking at the run speed when I was playing beta. I'm 95% confident that it's 240, and then the White Stallion is 255. So the White Stallion is slightly faster, and then the Frost Lion and this Inferno horse, I guess we could call it, is, as of right now, the fastest mounts in the game.
Indeed, indeed. And I'll also put some pictures of the Frost Lion, which we talked about in the last podcast, but we didn't have a good picture of, and now we do, and it looks pretty sweet. Looking forward to riding that around.
Alright, and we're going to mention the books.
The books, indeed.
Books.
The 99-cent books. Yeah, they've launched 3 of them so far, and there's no end in sight. And I tell you what, it sure beats a cash shop to have an optional book. It's a way to generate some revenue. Good writers. There's some criticism out there, but haters gonna hate. What can you do?
Exactly.
It's 99
And
cents. It's a little novelette, if that's a word.
yes, and the titles of the books, if you guys want to look, they're Kindle books right now on Amazon. We've got the Armathian Heart, which was the first short story, followed by Killer, and then Fire and Ice. And they're all 99 cents.
Indeed.
All right. I don't want to speak too soon, but I think that just about wraps up this episode of Teracast.
It sure does, yeah. We'll be back again between 5 and open, once we get a lot of these announcements that are promised. Looking forward to hearing about, all the changes that will be going into the game for the actual live launch on May 1st.
And if you guys hear this before closed beta 5 and you haven't gotten into any of the betas, as of right now, the 30th of March, you can go onto Terra's Facebook page and like them in order to get a free closed beta key. If not, we'll see you guys in open beta. And if you guys want to play with us, we're on Serpentis Isle. I don't think we mentioned that in the last podcast.
I can't remember if we did or not either, but yeah, Serpentis, we're on there. You can message any of us, Caelixian or Kiojii.
Yes.
If we're not on, just look for anybody in Morpheus, and you can actually look up the guild and apply. You can send in an application in-game. It's a really well-done system, actually. We've never discussed it, but maybe in the next one we'll talk about it in a little more depth, the application process to guilds and looking for guilds and all that stuff. Really cool system in-game, but mess around with it, figure it out, find us, and we'll be happy to have you.
Indeed, indeed. You guys can look us up on Steam. We've got a Teracast page. Feel free to join us.
And there's always Teracast.ca as well. So
Exactly.
You can head over there to find out more about Morpheus, the guild, or even just a podcast. You can leave your feedback there, that sort of thing. And there's the YouTube channel now, of course, which is where you're probably watching this.
Yes. Subscribe, like, all that stuff. Tell your friends. Get them addicted to Terra. Get them playing. So.
That is that. All right, well, I guess we'll see you next time on Teracast.
See ya.